talk about the controversies that surrounded the NLC protest that took place on February 27, 2024. So let me start with my studio guest. I already have on standby Benga Ekundango, who is joining us live from Lagos. He is the chairman TUC Lagos State Council. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us in the program.
Yeah, good evening, host, and good evening, Nigerians.
Okay, all right. So before I get to you, let me first come to my studio guest. That is Dr. Yemi Omodele. What are your thoughts about that NLC protest, the one that was slated to take place on 27th and 28th of February? Although the one on 28th February was transformed into something like they used it to brief the press, then they suspended the protest. What's your general view about that?
Well, generally, the unionists were trying to exercise their rights. But the fact remains that I read it in some paper that some of the affiliates of the union decided to pull out of the strike or the demonstration of whatever protest. Seeing it that way, it's like the house was divided against itself. Because if there are affiliates of about 50 or 30 something units, when about 29 or thereabouts, 17 decided to step aside. That means there's no unity among the seven body, which is what you implement to them. However, I think the union has a focus which they wanted to achieve by declaring 2 days protest or demonstration. But I was somehow surprised when I heard that they now give a 14 days ultimatum to the government to do the meeting. I think that was what they should have done first, before the initial demonstration or protest declared. Because looking at the strategy they adopted is rather, I can say it's not too fair. You allow some persons to demonstrate for some hours or thereabouts. All of a sudden, a few hours thereafter, you say no, we suspended the strike or the demonstration or the protest. You now say you give the government 14 days or something. There should be what we call consistency in what they are doing. Nigerians are not fools. The workers are not fools. One person cannot claim to be more intelligent than the entire population of the country. Somebody who thinks such way must be the most first have an idea to sell out. Now you say 2 days demonstration, few hours you say suspended, few seconds you say 14 days ultimatum. Which one are they saying Nigerians will be pick and choose? It is unfair. They should be consistent, they should be united, they should be uniform, they should be ready to do what they claim they want to do. Then taking it from another angle, the affiliates to the body, some of them pull out. Then where are we going? So such a thing may make Nigerians to raise some suspicion about the actions and inactions of the said body. I'm not a member of them, but I can say categorically that the way they strategize, their strategy is not too fair. Then, you see, government comprises intelligent set of persons. The way government officials will read meanings to the way they carried it out, it may not be too fair or too good to the members of those unions, with due respect. So I think they need to be more proactive, they need to be more focused, they need to be more determined, they need to be more strategic. So they shouldn't think Nigerians don't know what they are doing. When you say sit at home, you say demonstrate, people, some persons must have lost millions of naira for those few hours. Now, at the end of the day, it is the other way around. It is not that. And that is the way I view it.
All right, thank you very much. Thankfully, we have someone here that is representing the Athlete Union who will perhaps shed some light on the reason they pulled out and perhaps confirm some of these controversies that have been surrounding this NLC protest. Concerning this protest that NLC had planned for 27th and 28th February, we have some groups coming out to say that the protest is compromised and they advised NLC not to go on this protest because some think it is not in the best interest of Nigerians, while others have various opinions. Some even went as far as accusing the NLC president of being after his pocket and not necessarily the masses. Do you share the same thoughts with the general public? And is this part of the reason that the union did not join the protest?
For having me. Let me begin by way of clarification. I am the state chairman of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Lagos State Council, and there are two labor centers in Nigeria as of today. There is the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. The Trade Union Congress is not an affiliate of Nigeria Labour Congress, and the Nigeria Labour Congress is not an affiliate of the Trade Union Congress. Rather, there are two labor centers that have trade unions affiliated to them. So it is those trade unions that we call the affiliate unions. So speaking about the issue at hand, to be honest, I'm not aware of any affiliate union of NLC pulling out of that protest. However, TUC was not part of that protest. If that's what we're referring to as affiliate pulling out, TUC is not an affiliate of NLC. And TUC did not pull out of the protest. Rather, TUC was not part of the protest from the beginning of the plan of that protest. You will recall that early last month, there was an ultimatum that was given to the federal government of Nigeria on the sundry issues bordering on the hardship and the economic challenge that we all face right now. And it was a 14 days ultimatum. The expectation, the ultimatum was jointly issued by NLC and TUC. That's the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress at national level. The expectation was for the two labor centers to come back together at the expiration of the 14 days ultimatum, review the situation, and then look for the way forward. However, what we saw in TUC was a unilateral pronouncement of protest at which was an outcome of NLC NEC, which carefully looking at it, they have the right to take the route that they think is best to protect their members and also perhaps speak for Nigerians. The only thing we have said, which the leadership of TUC have been reiterating, is that since it was a joint ultimatum, any further action beyond that ultimatum should have also been joint action. It shouldn't have been a unilateral pronouncement. And since it was not a route that had been reviewed at the neck of TUC and there is no decision to go that route, TUC couldn't go ahead with such plan because that plan did not involve TUC in the first place. So TUC was not part of the plan. That's the situation, not that TUC pulled out. No, we didn't pull out. We were never part of, that decision of protest. Now, there are ways, there are ways of engagement that we know of. There is what we usually call the 3 C's, which is a consultation, consolidation, and lastly, confrontation. What we believe in is no matter how hard the situation is, no matter how difficult it is, we must consult. You must come to the table to discuss what the issues are and look objectively, strategically, and effectively at the solutions that will work given the circumstances and the situation at the moment. Bearing in mind that no two situations are the same. and then we can now look at, okay, what is the best approach forward? When we meet with either the employers or the government on issues, we review what has been done, what has not been done, what needs to be done. And then going further is we consolidate on that consultation by way of further discussion. It is when that consolidation fails that we see that, okay, despite the discussions, no progress is being made at all. That's when we decide on confrontation. And confrontation can be beginning by way of a protest, peaceful demonstration. And if that fails still, then that's when you call out, a general, what do you call it, a general strike to say, okay, you know what, no one can take this, nothing is going to work until things are fixed. That's what we believe in. That's the way we operate. So our leadership found it a bit difficult to work with, to just declare protest without further consultation, without consolidating on the previous consultation at the expiration of the ultimatum that was jointly issued. That's why it became bothersome to go ahead with a protest, particularly at such a time. You would also look at it carefully and say that where our economy is, it is felt by everybody. The hunger in the land is totally unacceptable, and no one should sit by and expect that that should continue. Otherwise, where should we call our home going forward? And that's why we have our leadership have continued to engage. And like the president of TUC, Engineer Comrade Festus Osifo, explained that different media chat that he has had, even when you talk about the fuel subsidy issue, which we, even as I'm a member of Pengasan, which is an affiliate of TUC. The president of TUC today is also the president of Pengasan, which is the senior staff body. Pengasan is the senior staff union in the petroleum and natural gas industry. And knowing the nitty-gritty, the ins and outs of that industry, we have known for years now that we needed to do away with the regulation of the downstream sector. It is the best way to grow that sector for the benefit of Nigerians going forward. We've also seen all the rot in the subsidy regime, and we've been talking about it for years. That I remember since 2016 that it was time that we did away with that regime of subsidy. But there are certain things that have to be done, which Pengasan has continued, and the president of TUC, the president of Pengasan, Comrade Festus Osifo, has continued to engage with government with suggestions and ideas of how to improve what we have. Some of those ideas are being bought by government, and some results are being seen. And we're still following up on that to see that things are done. We do not believe that it is every time that you take to the street. Again, when you look at what has happened in Nigeria over the time, we should think critically and ask ourselves certain questions. You cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. So we've gone back inwards to say, okay, besides strike and protest, that we all know for over 20 years now, perhaps 30 years and more, we've had different protests and strikes over price of petroleum products and over different things. But you will see that despite the strikes and the protests, during the protests and the strikes, millions are lost, businesses are disturbed, individuals are disturbed. At the end of the day, look at it down the line, decades later, where are we? Are we really efficient in the way we run those sectors? So perhaps it is time that we need to really come to the table and speak to issues, tactically, effectively, and efficiently, besides just, going to the streets. And that's why the leadership of TUC have looked at, okay, there has to be other ways to address these issues. What is important is achieving the results. If protests will achieve the result, fine, go the route of protest. But if there are other engagements that can achieve the results, explore those engagements. What is important is bringing succor to Nigerians. What is important is for us to grow an economy that is effective, that is efficient, that can stand the test of time, that can stand neck to neck with other economies of the world. The challenges that we have is beyond, singing and dancing on the road. There are challenges of decades. You talk about the challenges of forex, the handlers of the economy. You wonder whether they really thought about the policies that they have thrown out recently, because all the handlers of
All
the
right.
economy
But since
or
you
the
mentioned that the reason TUC was not even part of the protest was because they were not carried along by NLC. So assuming that NLC and TUC had sat together to plan the protest, does this mean that perhaps TUC too might have joined in the protest? Because from some quarters of the NLC, it seems like they felt abandoned by the TUC in this concluded protest.
well, you cannot say that TUC abandoned NLC in the protest, because you can only accuse TUC of abandoning if TUC was carried along. Naturally, the way we operate, when we are prosecuting such issue together, there would have been a joint neck meeting, not unilateral neck meeting. And that's why when the declaration was made, the leadership of TUC also reached out by way of letter of protest to NLC to say, okay, we have seen this. What is the way forward? We disagree with this approach of unilateral declaration of protest. The ultimatum that was issued before was jointly issued. But going forward now, we expect that we will have jointly looked at this and not declare unilateral, protest. But despite that, I'm not aware of a decision at the NLC level to, come back inwards and say, okay, let us reason together. So TUC cannot be accused of abandoning a process that they were not involved in the first place. Um, to the best of my knowledge, the information that's available was at the neck meeting of NLC where the protest was declared. There was a presence of media. Media was invited, which meant that there was a pre-knowledge of the direction that that meeting will go. So if that was done without TUC, how would anybody accuse TUC of abandoning? If you recall, around, I think that was September last year, we had a protest that involved both parties, which we had joint neck meeting on to declare the protest, and we're all there together. And also, if you remember, towards the end of last year, there was the issue that happened in Owerri, where the NLC president was wrongly treated, which we all stood against. And I remember so that it would not look like it was anything personal to the president of NLC, because it wasn't personal. What happened in Owerri was an aberration. You cannot treat the leadership of the labor movement at any level in such manner. None of us should sit by idly and watch it. So the president of TUC led the protest. It was a 2-day protest that also led to the apology from the necessary quarters and assurances that such will never happen again. That is the kind of thing that you get when we work together to say this is the direction that we're going. So if we had worked it together, had joint neck meeting on it, you will have found us there together. But PUC was not involved, so it was not a case of abandonment. It was a case of PUC was not involved from the beginning of that declaration of the protest.
Alrighty, thank you so much for taking time to be with us on the program. We truly appreciate your presence. Many thanks for being a part of Firecrackers today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And that was Comrade Benga Kundayo, who joined us live from Lagos. He is the chairman TUC Lagos State Council. So if we look at some of the things that NLC was fighting for, because they gave the federal government some time, and if we take a look at the list, they want revival of some industries that we have in Nigeria. They want the full functioning of all refineries, among other demands too. But if we look at the time frame gave the federal government to make this work, and what is actually obtainable in reality, do you think that it was even necessary to go on protest, because these projects might actually take a longer time to implement?
I said it earlier, that each time there was a strike or demonstration or protest, some persons do lose millions. And that is minus on the part of such investors. Because some of these investors, they rely solely on facilities from financial institutions. And when such an investor do away with 2 good days, which is 48 hours, it's not good for an investor. So that is why I would rather say, instead of demonstration, strike, protest, it is better that diplomacy comes into place. That is, we judge together, the government, to fine-tune things. You see, if you look at the history of strike in Nigeria, demonstration and protests in this country, I am not sure it has ever achieved 15% positive towards what is being clamored for. I am not sure. So, if that should be the case, why can't we have a rethink on the steps we take when it comes to ensuring that the government does 1 or 2 things for Nigerians? A union cannot outweigh the entire unions in the country. Highly impossible. Now, when we say we want government to do this, government also need money. Now, the money needed is not by miracle. It is by hard work, thirst, investment, and by also facility, what they call loan. So if that should be the case, then we should also ensure that if the money comes, government utilizes the money properly. But a situation whereby the country stands still, it is not in the best interest of the economy. Do this first. It's not in the best interest of the economy. What is in the best interest of the economy is that entire Nigerians should come together and ensure that progress is made economically, agriculturally, medically, socially, education, so that we can make progress. Now, when you look at it from one angle, that is, when you say you want government to do good roads, you want good roads in this country, then government maybe takes loan and the end of the day fix it. Then when government fixes it, those of us that are planning the road, we also need to ensure that that road is properly taken care of. Now, at times when you say demonstration protest, you see some people, I call them heartless human beings. You carry tires, carry some other substances, and put it on the road. The asphalt lane, government has spent billions on that and burning it. That is not fair. Now, after a few weeks or months, you discover that such a spot that will be pothole there. Then the pothole keep on increasing. Then what are we doing? It's like we are using our hands to destroy what we have jointly put there. So that is on the one hand. So what are Nigerians trying to do to encourage government so that the government can also encourage us to do better things in this country? We shouldn't be thinking that everything must be done same day. It is not done anywhere. We should be thinking that okay, in the next 10, 20 years, how will this country be in terms of our economy?
So would you agree with some quarters that believe that Nigerians are not being patient enough with President Bola Tinubu's administration? Because the administration is less than a year, and then it's as if they're expecting miracles. Would you also agree
Oh
with
my God, I've said it on several occasions that you see some Nigerians, once they carry their phone like this, they can use it to call commotion in Ibadan, whereas they are in Abuja. They will start sending a lot of things online. People will reading it and be shouting. Now, from one angle, you see, when you contest, you have attack what you want to do. But at times, when you win successfully and you get to that, you now make different things. that thing, those things you make there, may one way or the other draw back the rate at which you want to accelerate. So I think such a thing may be what is affecting the present government. It's not that the present government does not have plans, but what the said administration meant in the office is a different ballgame. So if it's a different ballgame, then the thinking tanks have to put heads together and ensure that those mistakes made there, those errors made there, are fixed. Then will those errors be fixed overnight? The answer is no. It will take some time. I am not saying Nigerians should not enjoy themselves, should not be free, should not eat as a well-do. But what I am saying is that we should allow peace to reign in order to ensure that the government is able to fix certain things and want. You see, let's be sincere. This Lagos Ibadan Expressway you see, the construction did not start in a day and concluded in a day. It took several years. They were doing it, abandoned it, started again, abandoned it, started again. But these days now, when you fly that road now, you say government is trying. That is exactly how Nigeria is. Now, if you drive from Lagos to Port Harcourt to Calabar, my sister, what you will experience on that road, you will thank God when you get back to it. It is not fair. But those roads will not be fixed overnight. Now, if you drive between here to Kaduna, from Kaduna you move to Kano, then you also see the distinction of what I'm saying. Then if you drive from here down to Ilorin, then you also see the distinction of what I'm trying to say. If you drive from here, you pass through Ilefe to Akure to Owo, then to Kaba, then to Abuja. You also see the distinction. Then from Kogi, you drive down to Benin. You see the distinction of what I'm trying to say. So those roads are not fixed in an overnight. It takes a gradual bet with a cabinet. You see, some of our governors, with due respect to them, the National Assembly members and the House of Assembly members, and the people we call the chairman and councillors of local government, they should have Nigeria at heart. They shouldn't think about their family and their well-being alone. They should think about the entire country. You see, a time is coming. You councillor, you chairman, you governor, you senator, you rep, you assemblyman, you president, you vice president, you will leave that office. Then when you leave that office, I pray that regret will not be your portion. Because that is the problem they have. Now when you think that you have 4 years, and you think that 4 years is going to be perpetuity, it's not so. So try to ensure that things are done within the time limits. You don't need to be looking like we call it a lukewarm idea.
From a local daily recently published compared Nigerian state government to the past colonial masters.
Yes.
In fact, the person linking it to this book by Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa,
Yes.
but now linked it to how state governors are underdeveloping Nigeria. Because he said that the way the colonial masters were acting that time could also be compared to how state governors too are acting this time. The report went so far to compare some things that are obtainable in other states and what the governor of some states are saying, especially concerning hardship that we're experiencing in Nigeria, that the federal government made provision for these states. But in a way, it's just not reaching down to the people. It's as if it's just old tax as it were. Would you also agree with this? And what measures could we take to hold state governors accountable so that perhaps they will not run the country dry?
Colonial masters, with due respect to them, they also contributed to the problems we are having in this country. They brought their own way of living and imposed it on us. They brought their religion, they imposed it on us. They brought their way of living, they imposed it on us. That is where our problem started from. Now, having done that successfully, took away all our resources to develop their own country, they left us with our feet. Now, I can see that when they talk of corruption in Nigeria, corruption did not start overnight in Nigeria. It started during the colonial masters. The colonial masters, with due respect, they are the chairman and executive director of corruption. This is it. You came here from your country, you took away all our human and material resources. You took it to your country. You developed your country. You left our own life, and that is corruption. That is corruption. Now, a lot of things were done by those people, but I pray that we will overcome our problem in this country. Now, to the governors, I will just say, the governors, the senators, the rep, and the rest, they should go and look at the history of their predecessors, both dead and living, and take a cue from them. You cannot cheat persons and think you will go suffering. The nemesis will come on them. They should go and look at their predecessors, what happened to them after they left office. So, relating that to yourself, kindly make it in your mind and ensure that what accrues to your constituency, to your state, to your local government gets to them. Don't think that it's only your family that make it in this world. Other persons, the yet unborn children, they will also make it. And by the time these people make it, then only God knows where you'll be there at that time. So I enjoy them to look at the history of their predecessors and take a cue from there, have a rethink on what to do. Because let me tell you, when federal government releases money to the state government and the rest, it is not possible for federal government to bring money and be sharing to people in Ajaseipo, in Kwara State. It is not possible. It will pass through the state government. So when such fund is released, the federal government believes that I've done my part. Let the government, the state government, do the needful. And the needful is not done. People will now start shouting, federal government is not doing anything, it's not doing this one is successful, that one is successful, this one is successful. We are right. The person at the helm of power within that state is living an nation, carry charter flight to Dubai, carry charter flight to Sudan, to Lesotho, to Botswana, at the expense of the citizens of that state. This is not right. According to the Bible and even the Quran, a sinner will not go unpunished. Such a governor or a senator or a rep or whoever may be, if you listen to them, the day is coming, the day of reckoning, according to. So the day of reckoning, they should go and look at the history of those persons who have one way or the other, either legitimately or illegitimately, occupy those offices and see what happened to them. That is what I would say.
All right, thank you so much for that. So I feel like it's time for us to look at some of the steps that the federal government is taking to make sure that Nigeria becomes, well, maybe let me say one of the best countries in the world. I believe that
it's going to be one of it's going to be the best.
I
Not
believe
one
that.
of the best. Nigeria will be the best country in the world. In the years to come, you see.
Yes, I sincerely hope so, and I pray that that comes to fruition very quickly.